Everybody, I think this is November 6th, if I'm not mistaken. I hope it is. Maybe not, or 5th, something like that. But it's the 31st Sunday, I know that. And we're still reading from Matthew. This time we're in chapter 23, beginning of verse 1 to 12. Jesus spoke to the crowds and to the disciples, saying, "The scribes and the Pharisees have taken their seat on the chair of Moses. Therefore, do and observe all the things whatsoever they tell you, but do not follow their example. For they preach, but they do not practice. They tie up heavy burdens hard to carry and lay them on people's shoulders, and they will not lift a finger to move them. All their works are performed to be seen. They widen their phylacteries, lengthen their tassels. They love places of honor at banquets, seats of honor in synagogue, greeting in marketplaces, and the salutation, Rabbi. As for you, do not be called Rabbi. You have one but teacher, and you are all brothers. Call no one on earth your father. You have but one Father in heaven. Do not be called master. You have but one master, the Christ. The greatest among you must be your servant. Whoever exalts himself will be humbled, but whoever humbles himself will be exalted." All righty. Let's get the real quick here. We've been with Catholics and non-Catholics when they hear this passage, as if they never heard it before, as if those who through all the centuries never noticed this one thing: do not call anyone on earth your father. And they come up to you, see that it says, do not call anyone earth and father. Oh my gosh. As if they're the only one that somehow found it or spotted it. No one else noticed it. It took them 2,000 years, but there it is. They are the ones who claimed it. All right. Well, we have Father's Day. You're going to do away with Father's Day. Do not call anyone earth your teacher. We don't seem to have a problem with that either, do we? Master, So what exactly? It's recognizing God's primacy of God in our life, all right? You think it's any better to call someone reverend instead of father? Reverend? That's another high title, isn't it now? So, Monsignor means my Lord? No. Recognize that God is in control. God is first. Anyway, talking about the scribes, and from me go back to the scribes and Pharisees, and they're people of ostentation. They like to be noticed. They like to be recognized as if they are better than others and that they are holy. Now, Jesus said you have to obey what they say because it follows from the line of the teaching, right? God gave the law to Moses, handed it down to Joshua, Joshua to the elders, elders to the prophets, prophets gave it to the scribes and Pharisees. So therefore, they do have a responsibility, and they do have a certain accountability, and they do deserve that. So even though Jesus may not be praising the scribes and Pharisees, but you have to recognize the law of these great principles. And the great principle is to love and reverence God and to love our neighbor. But they love to be noticed, and they love the show. And so the religion of the Pharisees really became inevitably a religion of ostentation. If religion consists in obeying countless rules and regulations, and that's what happened, they went from the 10 to 360 something, a law and rule for everything. It becomes easy for a man to see that everyone is aware how well he fills the regulations and how perfect is his piety. And Jesus selects certain actions and customs which the Pharisees show their ostentation. He goes by their dress. Let me show you this. It's not just among the scribes and Pharisees. Maybe sometimes we are somewhat guilty of that too. Doing things to be noticed. It was in grade school. I didn't realize at the time, but looking back on, I want to be noticed as being pious. In church, when we got the grade school, on the first Fridays, you had to go to church. They took the classes to church and make a visit. And how we did it, you had to be, before the Blessed Sacrament, and you had to be there and pray and be quiet. You came in and you had knelt down, and then it was up to you when you wanted to sit back, as long as you were quiet. I said, I'm going to kneel. In fact, I'm going to kneel the longest. I want to look like, wow, look at me. So I'd be kneeling and everybody else be sitting, but not me. I was still kneeling, shuffling a little bit, but I did it. And I guess in a way it's true. Even at the early age, want to be noticed. Maybe the nun, my teacher, sister, would notice me and think, wow, that Thomas, look how pious he is. That's right. Or I remember I used to wear a rosary around my neck. I know that seems to be popular today, but I would wear it around my neck. And then we had dance class once a week with Mr. Don. And I had my rosary. I would wear my rosary on the outside. And during dance, the teacher would be excused, and so he had a little break, and he would run the class. And I wasn't much of a dancer. I liked to goof off, so I would get the girl and sort of like play bumper cars, bump into other partners in the dancing, just try to make it look like it was by accident, fumbling and trip people. It was just trying to annoy people. Anyway, the nun came back and he turned me in, Mr. Don. He said, the fellow, he didn't know my name. He said, the one with the rosary on his neck, who looked so pious. I was that one. And so these scribes and scribes say the same way. They want people to notice them. And so they wore their garments, their little box on the head, which carried the Shema, you love the Lord your God with all your heart. And they would be extra big. And the phylacteries, all right? And the tassels, big, external. And people would see them and say, whoa, look how holy they are. And the Lord said, okay, maybe what they teach is true, but don't imitate them. Religion is, between you and God. You don't have to show it off. That's not the point. We don't do things to be noticed, to be holy. I remember, even back in the seminary, we had to wash cars, and one of the seminarians, we called him Gene, who was washing. He was sort of wasn't the hardest of workers. But once the superior our superiors would come by and check up on us, all of a sudden, he'd be working to be noticed as this hard worker. I said, oh man. So apparent. I'm not sure I've even fooled them, but anyway. And so God says, be sincere what we're doing. We're not here trying to oppress others. We live for an audience of one, God alone. God sees, and God judges, and God rewards. Amen.